I wanted to get into what a poll we put up that on YouTube, and it was the best Southpaw ever. And 45% voted for Manny, 25 for Marvin, 16 for Pernell, and 13 for Terrence Crawford. But the majority of the comments were really for Pernell Whittaker, and he's a champ that I never
Well, if
got to
you're a
really.
real boxing fan, if you're a real like old school like historian boxing fan, you would have probably said Pernell Whittaker. I mean, Pernell Whittaker um, is really tremendous, for me as a southpaw. Because he's one of those slick southpaws. See, like Hagler's a beat the shit out of you southpaw, So it's
Okay.
like it's less tricky. It just beats the crap out of you, which is still amazing. Hagler was an amazing fighter. But when you think of southpaws, you think of tricksters, right? You know,
Mhm.
tricky guys, really crafty and tricky. Um, I think Pernell, nobody was like that. As a matter of fact, I think Pernell and I think probably Lomachenko. Crawford is a southpaw and he fights majority of the time in southpaw, but he's a switch hitter, which also makes him super dangerous. And the fact that he's a switch hitter. But Lomachenko and Pernell Whitaker for me are the most crafty of the southpaws that I've seen. Like
So
they're very,
out of
very
that
crafty.
list, you're
But they're
picking
not that. But
Pernell?
of course, you don't have to be a crafty southpaw to be the best southpaw. Some people, everybody has their preferences. I will say that newer generation will get more votes because the people that watch the older generation aren't so in tune with social media, so they'll get less votes. Because if you really, I feel like if you really know your boxing there, with respect to all of those guys, because
Yeah.
all those guys are amazing, you probably say Whittaker because Whittaker is the trickster southpaw, crafty southpaw that you really gives you nightmares. And Hagler is an old school fighter too, but he's not so much tricky as he was just like beat the crap out of you and then beat you with the submission type of southpaw. So it's a little bit less stereotypical of a southpaw. Um, Manny, honestly, I mean, everybody already knows what I think of Manny. I mean, anybody
There's a
with a
video
brain
on
and
it.
anybody in the
I'll
brain
link
with a
it.
brain
I'll
in the
link
head
it.
will agree with me. Yeah, everybody with a brain in the head will agree too.
There's different ways to rate all of them. Crawford, you rate the two undisputed divisions. Manny, you rate the eight division jumps. Marvin, like you
No,
said, you
I don't really rate the divisions because again, that can be manipulated with PEDs. But I rate when I watch you like just the trickiness, the craftiness, the ring IQ, and all that stuff. Like
mhm.
and with me, Whitaker and Crawford in that group are tremendous. Hagler underratedly as well, but he's more beat the crap out of you guy. But
Mhm.
Hagler still could be tricky the way he did create some of the angles to beat the crap out of you. Hagler's one of the more fun. Hagler might be the most fun southpaw to watch. Like Hagler, there's not too many Hagler fights where you're not going to be entertained.
I we also ran one more. Oh, well, we have some comments from that actually that I wanted to highlight. I
Yeah.
wanted to highlight. Absolutely
But keep
not
in
sweet
mind,
pea.
keep in mind about southpaws, they usually get a reputation for being stinkers and stinking out the joint. That's why Hagler also comes in to be important. He's a fun southpaw. Like no, and I guess Pacquiao too to that degree. But
Mhm.
Hagler was super super fun to watch. Go ahead.
So sweet pea, this is from Paul T. Rel 4149. Thanks for commenting. Absolutely not. This is in response to Pacquiao. Sweet pea, hands down, stood in the pocket 2 to 4 inches, so you could not touch him. Great angles, elusive, slick, super slick. Didn't need the big KO, but he beat the fight out of you and frustrate. Great feet movement with great feet
Yeah,
movement.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Whitaker was a guy who didn't have a lot of knockouts, but he took control of the ring. If you watch a lot of Whitaker fights, he's a slickster. But he actually in a lot of spots walks you down. It's similar to Mayweather in that way, where even though he wasn't a big puncher, a lot of times Mayweather is controlling the ring and actually starts walking you down in big spots in a fight. Whitaker actually was like that too. He dominates so much that he actually started to walk you down even without the heavy artillery and could hurt you. And there were some key knockouts. I mean, the Hurtado knockout was super super important as Hurtado was winning that fight. And when you consider Whitaker, if it wasn't for the drug problems, could have probably done even more. And considering what the amazing things he already accomplished, and the fact that this guy had potential to accomplish even more if he would have stayed disciplined outside the ring, that leaves you just in awe.
I mean, that's a guy. He beat Buddy McGirt in '92 to take his
Yeah,
Big Buddy's
yeah, they fought
title.
twice. Yeah,
Oh, they fought
they fought
twice.
twice. Yeah, Whitaker. The first one was close, and Whitaker, the rematch, Whitaker won the rematch more handily. But yeah, it was a great era. I mean, the guy essentially beat Chavez when Chavez was undefeated. They just robbed him. I mean, I guess
And
now you can
then
understand. I mean, you don't get out of the Alamo Dome alive if you don't give if Chavez loses that fight. It probably would have been a riot. So I guess they had to. Had to make sure Chavez didn't lose. You
You have
know?
firsthand experience with that in Texas.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Texas and also California when Chavez Jr. quit and the beer started flying all over the place, you know?
I just saw that clip. Have you guys ever met you and Chavez Jr. or have you guys talked in person?
Yeah, we did fighter meetings with Showtime when he fought from Farah. That fight that he quit, that fight too. When the guy I got hit with a beer because of that guy. He had to quit. A beer landed on my head. You know, I had to hide under the table. The beer started flying all over the place. It was crazy, crazy.
I
The
saw you.
Mexican fans, the Mexican fans, you know what Mexican fighters are prideful. Mexican fans are prideful. If that guy quits, man, they will flip out. But somehow they still support the guy. I don't know how. It's crazy.
Who was the best Southpaw you fought?
Um, Bro, I never lost to a Southpaw in my life until they robbed me in the Lobov fight, bro. I never lost to Southpaw. Amateur pro, I never got beat by Southpaw. Of course, there were probably Southpaws that would have beaten me. I fought them, but honestly, I was very adept at fighting Southpaws. I just did my angles and stuff like that. I actually kind of like to fight them actually. But yeah, Lobov, I broke my hand. I had to fight him one-handed, but I still felt they had to rob me. I mean, even Lobov, I essentially beat him one-handed. But I can't say like there's a best Southpaw that I fought because I don't think any of them gave me a lot of trouble, you know. But obviously Zab is the one with the most accolades as a Southpaw, you know.
I don't know if that was Southpaw.
Zab, hell yeah. What do you out of your mind? Zab is the main Zab was like Pernell Whittaker Jr. when he was coming up.
Okay.
You gotta cut that out of the video because they'll kill you. The fans will kill you.
Fuck. What's the time snip on this? Whatever. I play the layman. I am the layman. I didn't know.
Yeah.
See, our relationship's different because I didn't know you before boxing.
Yeah.
I missed out. I have FOMO. I missed
You missed
out
the
on
entire
all
you
the
missed the
bullshit.
entire boxing career, yeah.
No, which is
Exactly.
I think works good for us because it doesn't. I don't have that sense of.
Well, you're born, right? You're born early '98, right?
Yeah.
You're born right as I'm starting my amateur career. I had my
Mhm.
first amateur fight in March '98. So you're born right when it's all starting for me.
But even my boxing fandom doesn't start till June of 2021. We meet
Yeah,
in extraordinary
yeah,
circumstances, and
yeah,
that's where I get
yeah. We
exposed
meet
to.
there,
You're the
but
first
also,
Italian I met, really.
oh, yeah, really, wow. So now you're watching Bronx Tale. Look at this. You went
Look at
from
this. It
me
only took
to
me
watching
3
Bronx
years.
Tale. No wonder you never watched Bronx Tale before. You weren't familiar with the characters.
If I was, I feel like I would have at least the
But
whole
you've
thing
seen
with the
since I'm
suit.
sure you've seen Raging
I've
Bull
seen
since.
Raging Bull since
Well,
we've seen
okay.
we had a conversation. You hate the fight scenes in Raging Bull. I actually like them.
No,
like
I think they're poor fight scenes, but it doesn't even matter because the movie's so amazing. It's like boxing is secondary. When you can make a really good boxing movie, boxing becomes secondary. Even Rocky, essentially, Rocky is such a good boxing movie that the fighting becomes secondary. You know, so it's
so.
less
Is
important.
Rocky 4 the best one?
Rocky Four is my favorite one, but I don't
So
know if it's
that's
the
what
best one. You know,
I
I have stories. I have funny stories about 3 and 4 because those are the first two I watched. I didn't watch the Apollo ones until later. Um, and like I said, I mean, I think people know the story. With 3, I didn't even speak English. I was rooting for Mr. T because there was a Mr. T cartoon in Italy, and I knew the guy from my cartoon that I used to watch in Italy, and I didn't speak English, and I got here, so I'm rooting for Mr. T, not understanding the language.